Welcome to Telco Tuesday, where me, James Dodkins, and Mark Jackson talk all things telco. I've spent my career helping brands like Disney, Lego, Adobe, Nike, and Mercedes turn their customers into fans. And Mark has spent his helping brands like Vodafone, Virgin Media, Telefonica, and BT use technology to become the telcos of tomorrow. We're going to be discussing topics to help telcos unlock significant business value through successful digital transformation. The conversation is live, raw, and unfiltered. Welcome to Telco Tuesday. Hello, we are live for our very first Telco Tuesday. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm good. Should I say we're on air, James? Like that, there you go.
I think I should tell you what. Let's do this so you can see it. Yes, we are on air live for our very first Telco Tuesday. So, Telco Tuesday, the name is like Taco Tuesday. Now, look, Mark, I don't want to say that this is genius, but it's pretty close. Do you not
pretty close,
agree?
I would say. Yeah, I would say.
That's pretty much right, guys. Because this is the first one we've ever done, we are casting over LinkedIn, we are casting over YouTube, we are casting over Facebook. So if you are there and you can hear us loud and clear, please give us a little comment, say hi, let us know who's there. In fact, let us know where in the beautiful world you are right now. So let us know where in the world you are right now. I am in beautiful Birmingham, exotic, magnificent Birmingham. Mark, where are you?
I'm in beautiful, exotic Banbury. There's a thing going on here, B&B, isn't it? See if we can find anybody else who's from somewhere being with B.
Anyone's from Banbury, let us know in the comments. So I'm taking a little look at the comments now. Despina says, "Bring it on, Telco Tuesday." I can guess what I can do. I can do this. Hey, look at that! You're famous now. There's some people just called LinkedIn user whose name I don't know, but I'm going to try and put it up. Oh yeah, you don't have a name. That's unfortunate.
Good guitar.
But it's the redacted, obviously VIP status. So, Mark, why don't you tell everyone the idea of these Telco Tuesday live streams?
Well, really, yeah, just trying to have a bit of a chat about all things telco, like the intro said. You're an expert in customer experience, James, and I think we should spend a bit of time talking about how telcos enable customers to have a good experience or bad experience. Let's see. Let's try and get it all out there, warts and all, and see how the discussion goes. And we're going to try and do this, pretty off the cuff and see what happens. Yeah.
Cool. So what I am going to say as well is if anyone watching has got any questions as we go along, just ask them in the comments and we'll read them out. Unless they're bad, then we won't, then we'll ignore them. But as long as they're good, we'll read them out and it'll be fantastic. And if you've got any ideas for topics as we go forward as well, either drop it in the comments or drop one of us a message. That'd be really good. And also, if you're not connected to either one of us on LinkedIn, do that as well, because it's always good to expand the family. I'm going to the comments here. We've got Roberto Ciao from Milan.
I like a bit of Milan.
We have Jamie McCarthy. Good morning. Cambridge MA. So guys, this is showing you that if you write in the comments, you're going to be LinkedIn famous. So it's definitely worth doing. So I think it's probably... Oh, Galel is from Amsterdam. Nice. Cool. Have you ever been to Amsterdam?
I have. It's actually, to be honest, it's probably a story not for Telco Tuesday, but that's where I had my stag do. Yeah.
Okay. That's a promise. Right, okay. I think we should probably get into this now. So we'll start with a couple of little introductions because some of you might not know me, some of you might not know Mark, but I'll go first. So my name is James Dodkins. I've been involved in the discipline of customer experience for about 10 years now. And before that, I had a music career. So I played guitar in a heavy metal band. I toured the world. I released albums. Turns out music is all about customer experience too. So I was doing customer experience long before I even knew it existed. So that's how I got my love of customer experience, through being in a touring band. Then I went into the corporate world, and that's all boring. But I used to be an actual real life legitimate award-winning rock star. But now I'm not. Oh, now I'm a customer experience rock star, and I try and help companies turn their customers into fans. So that's me. Mark, who the heck are you?
Well, I'm not a rock star, and I've never been in a band, so can't gazump you on that one, James. But yeah, I've been in software sales, technology consulting for, I don't know, probably a little bit too longer than I can remember, maybe 25 years. A good 20 of that working with the sort of brands that you had on our intro there, the telco brands that most people know and love. Initially probably based in the UK, but as my career has grown, I've worked with companies all over the globe. Yeah, so interesting to talk today about some of the things that we're seeing there.
Beautiful. Now, actually, you didn't know that I knew this, but I'm going to say a thing about you, Mark. What is today, Mark? What does today mark for you, Mark?
Today is my 11th anniversary of being at Pega. Yeah, so yeah.
11 years. So he's been at Pega longer than I've even been involved in customer experience. So I think everyone in the comments needs to go, congratulations, Mark.
Probably you don't look old enough.
11 years.
I prefer a few. You don't look old enough, so that'd be good.
Yeah. So is it at 15 years you get the bobblehead? Can you tell everyone around that?
Yep, another 4 years and I get a little bobblehead. Yep. So yeah, probably should have some examples.
So let's just
go bobbleheads there, James, to show people on our so people know what they are.
I didn't. I think people know what a bobblehead is. Like a little statue. They get a statue made of you.
Yeah. With an
it's like it goes in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Roberto says, congratulations, Mark. There we go.
Good stuff.
So Axel's saying, what's this digital transformation thing all about? Maybe we'll get into that. Who knows, Mark? Do you think we'll get into that? I think we could. Thomas says, hi from Stockholm. Another beautiful place in the world. Right. Mark, why don't you tell everyone the rough topic of today's show? And when I say rough topic, it's because this could go anywhere, because we're just talking. If you mention something in the comments that takes us off on a different path, that's how it's going to go. No set agenda. So Mark, what is the rough topic for today's talk?
Well, I've been in working with telcos for 20 years now. One of my major bugbears is, why is it always at this time of year when we get the latest customer satisfaction or NPS or CSAT scores, is the telco market so rubbish when it comes to customer experience? And I look at it and I think, why is that? Ultimately, telcos are quite technology focused. They should be able to use technology to improve customer experience and give people a good customer experience, but they always rank so badly. What are your thoughts?
The question
Jim?
is, well, the question is why? Why is that? That's what we want to explore a little bit today. Like, why is it that they are ranked so low? And for me, there's two answers it could possibly be. So this is what I'm theorizing. Here's my do you want to hear my theory?
Yeah.
Okay. It's either that customers' expectations of telcos are so unrealistically high that no matter how good of an experience they deliver, customers will always be dissatisfied because it will never meet their astronomical expectations, or they're kind of rubbish at a lot of things.
Yep. Yeah. And I suppose
which one do you think it is?
I think, and maybe as somebody that supposedly helps telcos to improve this sort of thing, I think it's more the second one. I think they're a bit rubbish at some of these sort of things. And I want to caveat that because I've been into contact centers at telcos, and the people that work in the contact centers at telcos are rock stars, not actual rock stars like you, but are, when it comes to the delivery or dealing with customers' challenges, real rock stars. You see them, swapping around different systems and tabbing around and fixing those problems, like almost like a swan, the old, it's serene from the customer's experience, but there's lots of flapping around and kicking around underneath that they don't see. And so they do a great job despite the challenges that they have. And it's a tough one. People, I think, tend to, or the telcos themselves tend to think that another big telco stack transformation is going to change it and improve it, and it just makes it worse. I think in some cases it adds another system to the multitude of systems that they've already got to deal with.
Yeah, the way I think about it is, so I've always said this, so this isn't anything new, but if you want to turn your customers into fans, you need to treat your employees like rock stars.
Mhm.
And if we're saying, well, look, the people that are actually on stage with the audience in front of them are the agents in a call center, mostly in this environment, in this instance, you got to think about the stage that they're on. You got to think about the equipment that they're using, which of course is their tools and their software. And it's kind of like what you're saying there. Let's say I'm on stage and my guitar breaks. The answer isn't just to put another guitar in front of that guitar. Oh, that guitar isn't good enough. Tell you what, four guitars. I'm going to tape 4 guitars together. That will be better. You're like, no, it's just this one's not broken. Can we not just get a better one? No, we get 7. Let's tape 7 guitars together. That'll work. And then I'm trying to play this song across these 7 guitars, one of which doesn't work. I can't hardly use the rest because it's got tape all over it. So I'm thinking a lot of it is about not just knowing what to do, not just knowing the songs, not just your stagecraft, but it is the equipment that you're using. It's the environment that you're working within. Do you like that analogy? Do you think it's good?
It's a pretty good one. Yeah, it works with the agent rock stars as well, doesn't it? Yeah, it's good. I think there's a comment that I've just seen.
It would have been awful if you were like, no, James,
that's rubbish. I just seen a comment from, is it Hanani? Can you pop that one up? It's an interesting comment there,
screen.
which is typically customers don't contact the customer contact center to say thank you. They're not in a positive frame of mind. You know, if your service is working, and I suppose this isn't just a telco thing, but it does work in telcos. If your internet's working, like ours is hopefully now because we're streaming live, or you know your phone's working, you don't need to contact your contact center. You don't ring them up and say, "Hey, I'm having a great experience. Thanks." Put the phone down. You've got a problem usually. You've got a challenge, and so you're in a negative sentiment already. You've got a broken service, or you've got a billing issue that you're wondering why you've been billed for something that you didn't expect. You're in a bad place, and you sort of start with I don't know if we think of it from a as customer satisfaction or an NPS point of view, a negative point of view already, and you've got to be turned positive, haven't you?
Yeah, it's a really good point, and it's a shame, really. Maybe we should set up, because of course we've got customer service, and then we've got complaints, and we've got sales. Why couldn't we have a customer, an agent gratitude department where people ring in and go, you know what? Thank you for my internet working or my phone working for the past month without issues. It's probably because customers wouldn't do it, but she's right there. We don't ring in to be like, hey guys, just want to let you know everything's great and perfect, because there is an argument to be had, and I'm not putting this forward. I'm just saying that there is an argument. Any time a customer calls in, no matter what for, is a failure. Because if everything was working, or if they were able to self-serve and do things by themselves, then they wouldn't have had to call in. So, and people talk about like first call resolution as a successful thing. That's a minimum thing. That's not success. That's like the bare, like you're patting yourself on the back. Oh, this bad thing happened, and then we made it slightly better. Well, the bad thing should never have happened in the first place. Maybe that's a bridge too far, but I do think we need to face reality and know that customers are always going to need help with things. And of course, that's becoming increasingly more digital. It's becoming increasingly more self-service, and that's only probably going to get more. But there is that argument to be said that any call into a call center is actually a failure. Have you heard that before? No,
that's true. I mean, it's almost like you should be accounting 0 call resolution, not first call resolution, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
And solve things themselves. And I presume, we've got, what is it now, 14 and a half minutes in, and I haven't managed the C word yet, but with COVID happening and people, being forced to digitize things maybe even quicker than they thought, that shift to, I'll call it 0 call resolution, self-service, digitization, whatever you want to go, is having to happen even faster, isn't it? So it's a challenge companies are faced with a lot. And with the, it makes me think to the times, like I said, I've been in contact centers and seen agents switching between systems. How could you, you know, it's really hard to digitize that hand movement that the agents are doing, to get those same things done, not in a digital and a self-service way.
Yeah. I mean, bringing it back to a music analogy, which is sort of what I do, it is kind of like if you're playing on stage, you've got a set of songs, and sometimes different songs are in different tunings. So you've got two options. You either have to tune your guitar really quickly in between songs, or you have to swap guitars. So in between a song, you've got to take it off and get it back in time for the next song. But now there's a lot of things called drop pedals where you can run the guitar into a piece of equipment that changes the tuning that you're playing. And it's one sort of innovation that has completely revolutionized the way that people play music. You can play a set with one guitar. Now, I know like the big guys like Metallica, etc., have got people that just come and give them their guitars, and of course they're getting sponsored to use all these different guitars. That's a different thing. But I feel like that's what the call center needs, rather than having to swap things and moving things to different places. This bit of technology that can make it so they don't have to do that. And of course that does exist. I mean, we're not getting into pitch territory here, but of course, what I'm saying is there's no excuse really now. There's no excuse for people to be working in those conditions anymore. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a great analogy. It's like the digitization of guitar swapping, isn't it? That sort of thing. You can do a single set from one instrument, which is like, being able to do all of the things you need to do for customer experience from self-service, which is the way that the market's moving. But the technology underneath isn't quite as seamless as your drop pedal, really, I think, at the moment. I think too many. I think too many telcos. I mean, it's interesting. If you think about what is required to service a customer, you talked a bit there about complaints and all the different things. I think traditionally telcos have almost had different silos that do different things, and in order to create a seamless customer experience, they don't think about the end-to-end customer journey. They think about how their technology is going to, do things for them, and that's not a great experience for the customer at all. Yeah. I don't know who it is, some LinkedIn user, I wish I knew their name, saying first cause of resolution is like a myth, like unicorns.
Yeah, not like Pegasus is.
No, they really exist. They do, yeah.
They're like unicorns. So right, let's have a little look at what Tomo's saying. I've got to lean in to read this. So in the end, the user could earn a benefit or get an appreciation credit built into the new as a service subscription concept. So I think what Tomo's saying here is maybe having some sort of, and I've heard of these before, and I think it's a good idea, some sort of initiative whereby you give your customers, let's call it an appreciation credit for the purposes of this, where you're saying like, look, you've been with us for so long, we're going to give you something to give to someone that serves you at some point. And I've heard about this in airlines. I've heard about this in many different verticals. But it's a case of going to the customers. It doesn't need to be every customer. It could just be your most valuable customers, your top customers, your most loyal customers, the ones that have been with you for the longest, whatever. But you give them some sort of credit to give to people that go above and beyond for them. Because you got to think, in any business, there's always going to be people that go above and beyond, that serve the customers really well, that have customer centricity running through their veins. They are super customer focused, they're service focused, and they deliver amazing experiences all the time. And they don't always get the recognition they deserve. Doing something like that would be not just in telcos, but in every industry, that would be really cool.
Yeah, and it's like a loyalty sort of scheme almost, isn't it? To create empathy with, not just with the customer, because it creates that by giving them this credit, but it then creates almost like, empathy back to the actual organization and its employees, doesn't it? And it creates it's a sort of pay it forward type mechanism almost, isn't it? Yeah, which is, that's just, sounds like, I think there are really cool things. Yeah. And I think as service changes, and it is, I think, going through a radical change at the moment, some sorts of things like this are going to come out in organizations. You know, there are always going to be that group of people that want to do things digitally. I mean, you see a lot of telcos now popping up that are digital only. I know we've got giffgaff in the UK and organizations like that, I think, across the world and in other markets where everything is digital only. It's interesting because those organizations tend to score higher if you drill into the sort of NPS and CSAT results than the traditional I can ring up and talk to them. Yeah. I don't know, maybe like you said earlier, maybe there is an expectation setting there that people are going to get, you know, have to wait a little bit longer or that sort of thing, of a different type of service. So that their expectations are lower and they score them higher. Yeah,
there was I can't remember the name of the company, so this is going to be really useless me telling you. But there was it was a conference in America. Can't remember which part of it, somewhere in America, and it was a Canadian telco. And they had a model where there was different pricing plans. You could basically pay for the basic one, where everything was digital, and you couldn't get in touch with like a customer service agent. You couldn't get any human help. Then there was the human help one, and then there was like a 24/7 phone butler or whatever. It was like the super top one. And they were talking about how that
of a bloke jumping out your phone now or bringing your phone to you when it rings. You know,
exactly. Yeah, and they were explaining that. Whereas it was good, and I'm putting two and two together here. We got to understand that expectations come from different places. Some of it is from word of mouth. So you tell me about some company, and then I have an expectation that they're going to do that thing that you said. Some of it comes from past events. So this company did this thing before, therefore I expect them to do it again. Some of it comes from the leaders in a class. Oh, okay. Amazon do this thing, therefore I expect everyone else to do that. And there's loads of different areas, but one of them is around scenarios. So, I'm in a specific scenario, therefore, because of my situation, I expect to be dealt with differently. Not any of the other times, but because of this thing, I expect it. And kind of what they were saying is that when the people did need to call in, they were like, yeah, but I know I'm not paying for that package, but I expect that because this thing has happened, that you should talk to me anyway.
Yeah. It's almost like a coverage that thing's happened. It's out of the normal. It needs to be dealt with in a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they ended up, and I might be, don't quote me on this, but I think they ended up, for those people, if they did want to call in, they charged them like $2 every time they called in or something like that.
It sounds like a hard thing to police and manage, doesn't it? Yeah, and not a great customer
Wouldn't
experience.
it just be nice to create the conditions when nobody needed to call in? I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, that's ultimately it. I suppose that's it. You know, like you say, there's almost a point of failure if you've got as far as that customer having to complain or having to call in, if they could have, done it themselves previously, or even the problem hadn't happened, which is the ideal world, which, like you say, it's probably I think somebody used the unicorn idea. It's the mythical unicorn. Things are always going to happen. Wireless cell towers are always going to come down in bad weather, or cables are going to get chopped, that sort of thing. So that these things are going to happen. But you do wonder whether, in some cases, telcos, because I suppose it's interesting, isn't it? Telcos are in a situation where sometimes I speak to my colleagues who work in financial services and that sort of thing, and there is actually an infrastructure in a telco that needs to work, the cables, the cell towers, that sort of thing, and they can get affected by things. Whereas, I don't know, I suppose sometimes we see the ATM network go down, so you can't use your card, or those sort of things. But that's very rare that sort of thing happens. I suppose the financial service problem is I've lost my card, that sort of thing. It's stuck in the cash machine or whatever it might be. But yeah, with the infrastructure, I sometimes wonder whether telcos should get more proactive in customer experience and actually tell people there is a problem with the network, instead of waiting for people to ring in and go, there is a problem. And I think there are technologies out there that allow them to do that now and can detect things. I just wonder whether they're almost a bit scared to tell people there's an issue, because they might have to fix it before people realize. But sometimes I think being a bit honest, open, and proactive can be even better for you as a brand.
Yeah, 100%. It's that concept that you're talking about now, I refer to as proactive experience recovery. It's the understanding that things are going to go wrong. And it's a 4-step framework to it, so I'll tell you about that. It's identify, monitor, communicate, compensate. So the first step is identify the things in your experiences that cause dissatisfaction. Probably already got the data for this. You're going to know the things that annoy your customers, because it's going to be the things they complain about, or that they you've got negative sentiment attached to online. So, okay, you got all the things that you know annoy your customers. Then you have to monitor the experience in real time to notice when these things happen, right? And then when that happens, it has to trigger some action from the company. So it's not just going, oh, we've noticed something has gone wrong. Aren't we great? You actually have to do something with it. So the next step is communicate. Let the customer know that something's going wrong and that you know something has gone wrong. Many times, as you say, you're going to be letting a customer know something before they've even found out for themselves. So that is a scary thing. Like, well, why would we tell them if they might never find out? They're going to find out. So you may as well just tell them. And then the last one's compensate. And this is the weird one, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary compensation, but some sort of gesture goes a long way towards changing how a customer feels about a particular situation, because the statistic is that only 4% of dissatisfied customers are going to complain. So what that means is for every 4 people that complain, there's 96 other people out there that are just as upset, that just aren't the type of people that complain. And a lot of them will just silently leave and never come back. Yeah. Whereas if you can proactively reach out to the 100% and not even put it right, just apologize and give them some sort of gesture, it really changes how a customer feels about that situation. But that is scary, especially if a phone mast comes down and affects 1 million people. What, we've got to compensate 1 million people? Arguably and ethically, yes. Because if all of a sudden, if they're paying for a service that they don't get for half of a day, that's half of a day they've paid for that has not been delivered to them. So that's PXR, proactive experience recovery, that you were talking about there.
Yeah, and I think yeah, like you say, it's a scary thing, isn't it, to actually suppose take the leap of faith and do that and see how it, because I think a lot of people would, if I'm sat on the customer side of the fence, I think I would love that. They'd love that, my broadband might be down, but I might not be using it right now. But I'll go, okay, that's great. Okay, well, I won't worry about that. Thank you very much for letting me know. Hopefully they'll fix it in a couple of hours and it'll be back up and running when I need it, that sort of thing. But yeah, if I'm on the business side, I think it would be a bit scary to think about, like you say, communicating with. But if you look at that, just a simple statistic you gave here, that 96% of people that you effectively are not communicating with at all about this problem could be the lot that are giving you that negative NPS score, or that are just going off to your competitor in a month's time when their contract ends. Yeah.
Well, speaking of NPS scores, we've got some stats to bring up and look at, haven't we? Let's just have a little look at the comments before we do that. So Axel says, everyone should try calling their comms company to tell them about a great experience that they've had. Wait, you want me to call them up and tell them about Amazon? I think he's probably saying about an experience with them. That would be really nice. Right, call to action. Everyone, call up their phone company and be like, let me tell you about a time that you weren't awful.
It is funny though, isn't it? Because you make an interesting comic point there about not being awful, but how can you over exceed as a telco? Because you can sort of, by providing the connectivity, you have done what you contracted to do, like you said, but you don't provide, I don't know, slightly, I don't know, less, like quick. Well, maybe you do provide quick connectivity, but you don't tend to. You tend to contract for a certain speed of connectivity. Yeah. They don't know. Actually, we give you slightly quicker connectivity yesterday. Wasn't that good? Whereas I suppose if you're in a I don't know, a shop situation, maybe somebody go, oh, we got free sample over here. Would you like something? And you've got something extra that you didn't expect. You don't tend to get extra things you expect as a telco, do you? Maybe, there is this, pass things forward type idea. Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't know if telcos need to exceed expectations. Like, sometimes just being consistently okay is good enough. Yeah. Somebody referred to it the other day as being brilliantly boring.
Yeah,
like literally just doing this is what I'm going to do, and then do it. Just
Yeah.
That's something we don't really come across very much in this day and age in all companies, because everyone's trying to outmarket each other, going, we're the best this, we have the biggest that, look how shiny our thing is, and you're like, wow, it's so cool and shiny, I'm going to buy that, and then you use it and it's awful. Whereas if they were like, our thing is sort of average but it'll work, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm not a marketer, obviously.
No, I was going to say, I don't think we've got a career in marketing coming up with, but I get the idea. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just being consistently average, being brilliantly boring. I like that phrase.
Brilliantly boring.
Yeah, but the question is, in a telco, how do you even exceed expectations? Because the base expectation is pay for a thing, it works. But maybe doing something like proactive experience recovery is the thing to exceed. Let me bring up this comment from Christopher. He says, my brother is in finance and he uses typical cost, I'm guessing that's cost, stuff for a certain conglomeration that have P&G in the, I don't know who that could be. I gave them a brief rundown of Pega and streamlining systems into one platform. He says, everyone tries to do that and says that. I sent him a couple-minute video of Alan speaking and he was convinced.
Well, there you go.
Maybe you could put the link to that in the comments and everyone could watch that video. Yeah. Because it sounds brilliant. Yeah. Right. There we... Oh, who's saying this?
I like this comment, yeah. Consistently
LinkedIn user.
A bit more positive, isn't it, than brilliantly boring? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But it's not as catchy, but that's the...
So it's what they call it. Alliteration, is it, if it begins with the same letter? I think that's the letter.
Alliteration, yeah. Right. Let's bring up these stats. So do you want to explain where you found this and what it is?
Yeah, I found it online. It's Statistica, the website that compiles a lot of statistics, and they've done surveys of 60-odd thousand, I think it's 66,000 respondents, something, across these 23 industry segments. This was just in the United States, but
and that's 66,000.
Yeah, 66,000 respondents across 23 different industries, and rank them by NPS scores. So. Do you want to show the next one, James, or we can drill into it?
Next slide, please.
So it was interesting, and I think Axel made a comment earlier. I think he might have scrolled past me now about. I thought this was quite good time to bring this up. Airlines do this pretty well, so you can see top 5. Airlines are up there as number 5. So yeah, pretty good. Department and specialty stores, I suppose. Like we were saying, they get that opportunity when people have a face-to-face interaction to provide a level of above and beyond experience and customer service that maybe a telco can't provide.
Yeah, it's like Ace Hardware in the States. Like Shep Hyken's written a whole book about, with a case study of Ace Hardware and why they consistently outperform, not just financially, but with customer satisfaction scores as well.
So that's the top 5, I suppose. Have we got the bottom view?
Bottom 7, is that?
Yeah. So cut out the bottom 7 here, and I don't know whether we sort of let the cat out of the bag with our comments earlier in the thing, but your typical internet service provider, cable and satellite TV service, and even your mobile phone or cell phone service are down there as 3 of the bottom 7. So yes, and look at the bottom 2 are the only 2 that are negative when it comes to an NPS, and they are 29 points away from health insurance, something that I suppose you never ever hope that you want to use or ever need to use, but it gives a better NPS than your internet service provider.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of insurance, there are some people that are still not fantastic, but still above telco services. We've got life insurance at 11th. We've got home and contents insurance at 15. Banking in 16. So banking is better than telcos.
Yeah, something that you don't tend to really think about. Well, I don't know about. Maybe I'm in the telco market. Maybe I just think, but there are lots and lots of things out there around, the latest mobile phone, the fastest fiber broadband, those sort of things. You would think that would be something that people are thinking about investigating and wanting to do more, and they'd be, higher up the list than, my banking service. So yeah, it's well, it always strikes me when I see those things that why is it, And maybe, you know, I suppose, like you said, I mean, simplified it right down with your comment earlier. There are really only two things, which is customers' expectations are massively high, and maybe that's been set by experiences they've got in retail stores or with airlines and those sort of places where they get personalized, you know, one-to-one service from a person. Whereas, you know, as somebody said, you know, you only connect with your telco, or you only really speak to your telco when you're in about when you've got a complaint almost. You know, my bill's too high. Why have I been billed for this? My service isn't working. How are you going to fix it? Whatever it might be, that sort of thing. My phone's broken. How you can get me another one?
I think, to be fair, the actual answer is probably a combination of the two, because no matter where you are in the world, no matter what language you speak, no matter what industry you're in, customers only speak one language, and that experience. So if they get a good experience from Amazon, then they wonder why their telco can't do it. If they get a good experience from Apple, they wonder why their bank can't do it. And so expectations are evolving and advancing and progressing every single day with every single interaction we have with every single company. And of course, we're having to keep up with that. It's not telcos versus telcos anymore. It's telcos versus everyone. It's telcos versus the best experience a customer has ever had. And you don't have a choice other than to keep up with that. And so I think it probably is a combination of the two things. Customers' expectations are growing, and telcos, among other companies, they're just not good at setting and managing expectations. Because what you've got to think is, if you don't set a customer's expectation, then they will set the expectation for themselves, and then you won't meet it because you won't know what it is. So the best way to meet an expectation is to set an expectation. And I think that's what a lot of companies, not just telcos, but a lot of companies are missing when it comes to this, realizing that expectations aren't being set by them. Expectations are being set by the Amazons and the Apples and the Zappos companies of the world.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And that comment you made earlier about the telco that had the sort of 3 levels of service, the customers obviously didn't expect, so they expected certain things to be done in a different way, didn't they? And the telco hadn't set that expectation. Yeah, and that's very true, you know, because I suppose if you take a simple, I mean, let's say a complaint, one person's expectation of how that is dealt with might be different to another's. So you're going to get, even if you do the same consistent, boring, whatever you called it, boringly but basic service or whatever, I can't remember what you called it now, James. It was only
brilliantly boring.
Brilliantly boring service. You know, one person might score that 10 out of 10. One person might score that 2 out of 10 because it didn't meet their expectations. And I suppose that's it. Maybe that's expectation setting, which needs to be done.
Yeah. There's a comment here from Carlos saying, how can telcos be ready for those negative starting experiences?
I suppose that's an interesting, that is an interesting thing. You know, if you understand from, you know, customer interactions, that sort of thing, you get a lot of people coming in with something's wrong, it needs to be sorted. How do you better deal with that situation? You know, I suppose there is, like we've talked about, lots and lots of ways, or you should be trying not to have that experience. But when it does come in, how can you deal with it better? And maybe telcos and the systems and technologies that they have are not really good at helping people with that, you know, empathetic, I understand your challenge, I'll definitely make sure you get it fixed. Because I suppose if as an agent, or as if a retail store person, if you walked into a telco shop or those sort of things, if you didn't feel as the agent you were empowered or had the technology to solve the problem, you, I suppose, wouldn't, like you say, set the expectation that you're going to fix it.
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually, because supposedly, according to science, the way people act is based on 2 things. So this is behavior. We're talking about behavior now of agents and employees. Behavior is based on 2 elements. It's who they are as a person and the situation that they're in. So they're the 2 elements that affect how somebody behaves. But apparently, more often than not, in a quite extreme way, it's always the situation that has the biggest impact on informing how a person behaves. So when you think of the situation you put your agents in, the environment they're within, the tools they're working with, the systems they're working with, like, if they aren't there to empower them and to help them and to guide them, then why are we surprised when they're not delivering those great experiences that we want?
Mm. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's yeah,
Mike,
it's almost impossible, isn't it? Really, and they're starting from such a bad situation, a position. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, dude, we have reached the 40-minute mark.
Wow.
I think what a lovely first Telco Tuesday that was. I want to say a massive thank you to Mark, and again, congratulations for 11 years at Pega.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Massive thank you to everybody that's tuned in today, everyone that's commented along. Are we going to do this again? Was this?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's give it a go. Should we give it a go in a couple of weeks' time? So we'd have to make it on a Tuesday, every Tuesday.
Yeah.
We're going to have to make it on a Tuesday. We can't do it on other days, can
Yeah,
we?
I didn't think that through. So we will do more of these. So I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took a lot away from it. Thank you for getting involved. But that is us finished for another Telco Tuesday. See you soon.